Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, TheGamingTrouge. Hello? Well, I have to make this. Like, this has been a thing that I've been wanting to talk about for years. You know what? No, I'm taking a stand on this. Ladies and gentlemen, as forever ago, I wanted to say these words. These words held so much power in the Sonic fandom that I cannot say them no more. I've been a part of many communities, all for my favorite interests. Well, besides this one. So, it's with great power that I do have that I say, Classic Sonic's time has basically run dry at this point.
Okay, let's set the stage here real quick. I do not hate classic Sonic. I actually really love a lot of classic era Sonic games. They were not only a part of my childhood, but they're solid games in their own right for the most part. But besides that, I actually really do love classic era Sonic. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I feel like within the past 10, almost 15 years, it was the only thing that people consider to be only good Sonic games, and it's really gotten under my skin. If you go to YouTube right now and type in Sonic hot takes, you're going to see hundreds and thousands of videos basically saying how when Sonic came to 3D, everything changed for the worse, which I don't personally see it that way. Now look, this is not just exclusive to Sonic the Hedgehog. Super Mario also kind of fell into this as well, when Nintendo really started pushing 2D Mario games and just 2D games in general, and then a lot of people really got sick of this 2D everything.
And as for Sonic, on literally every single console after the Sega Genesis, you can find multiple different compilations of these classic Sonic the Hedgehog games, which is really great to preserve, but it basically just undermines all of classic Sonic when Sega puts time, effort, and money into many different versions, even on the same console like the Nintendo Switch. Now, all this to be said that this wouldn't necessarily all be a problem if it wasn't for one game released in 2011. That game being Sonic Generations. Sonic Generations was a double-edged sword because it's a really solid, fun game with a pretty good campaign, with many great levels and great homages to the previous Sonic games. It's a good time. However, one giant aspect of Sonic Generations that will define Classic Sonic forever was the introduction of Classic Sonic. Classic Sonic himself is a good character in this story. He does what he needs to, but he's not the same happy-go-lucky hedgehog as I knew him back in the day, where I felt like he had a lot more attitude without saying anything. And they basically went with that entire perspective throughout this entire game, but even Classic Tails speaks English. Classic Sonic can't even talk at all, apparently? Is that what we're classifying as Classic Sonic now? It seems a little off and kind of disrespectful to the entire Sonic series. Classic Sonic's gameplay was completely solid. It wasn't too bad, it wasn't too great, but it was just right. It was perfect for the love letter that Sonic Generations was basically made for. But then after that, everyone loves Sonic Generations. This was the only great Sonic game to come out after Sonic Adventure 2 to many people, which I find completely garbage. And then it only got worse with 2017's Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces. Sonic Mania was, again, like Generations, a love letter to classic Sonic, but this time it was made in a 16-bit retro aesthetic that really pops out. This game does look really beautiful on Switch OLEDs or just even on PS5s and Series X's nowadays. And the talent that put their hands and feet into this project was Sonic ROM hackers and Sonic fans of the Genesis era. This is their bread and butter, and it shows. This is a really more fulfilling love letter than I felt like Classic Sonic was in Sonic Generations, but I still feel like it was overhyped way too much. Trouge. From the years of 2009 up until 2017, the market was simply just oversaturated with a bunch of 2D games, specifically from Nintendo, and Sega is just as guilty as Nintendo when it comes to just 2D games 24/7. There was so many 2D games on both consoles and handhelds at the time, and it just felt like that this was all retro gaming was, or this is just all what these like legacy characters are, just 2D like platformer games when they actually had much bigger and ambitions in the past. Look, 2D games and 3D games are both great. They're both really well made most of the time, and they both can have their own sense of fun. But when it comes to these two games in particular, Sonic and Mario, it always felt like that the 2D games were held in much higher regards than the next big 3D adventures, and that just felt very sad to me. And what followed after Sonic Mania was Sonic Forces, and you can say whatever you want about Forces as a whole, which it does have plenty of problems. I still find it to be the better game of 2017 when it came to these two platformers, because it felt like this one at the very least had a little bit more heart and soul into it with its originality and its custom character, literally putting yourself into this world of Sonic the Hedgehog with an ever-growing expansive character roster. And I feel like the worst aspect of Forces was classic Sonic, was the nostalgia that they were hoping to try to strike lightning in a ball twice again. But classic Sonic in this game does not play well. He was unnecessary to the story, and his character just kind of felt like he was way out of the way in comparison to the other two big important characters, the custom character and Sonic's character. Just something to throw against the wall, because Sonic Mania, remember Sonic Mania? Remember how much you love that game, and you remember how much you love the Phantom Ruby? We're going to do absolutely nothing with it, but you love Sonic Mania, right? I've said this before in the past, but it's bear repeating. If they made the slightest changes and got rid of classic Sonic from the marketing and from everything else, this would have been an amazing game. It made me look back at the past couple of times that Sonic Team and Sega both tried to cram in Sonic 1, 2, and 3 and all these other types of classic Sonic games in your face and say that these are the only great Sonic games. Who cares about the 3D games? These games are the best. If you truly believe that Sonic was only good in the Genesis era and there was no other great games besides that, let me talk about 3 games in particular that made me not only a bona fide fan of this franchise, but also just a fan of Sonic as a whole. Sonic and the Black Knight may seem like a hack and slash super speedy Wii shovelware game, but it's a lot deeper than that. They actually put the time, effort, and money into making a quality Nintendo Wii title at a time when a lot of people were not really caring about the Nintendo Wii at all. The plot may seem goofy on the outside, Sonic basically going into the world of King Arthur to stop an evil, corrupt King Arthur from taking over the world, may seem like something straight out of like a Saturday morning cartoon, but when you go deeper into it, it kind of reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender a little bit. Sonic with his new friend Caliburn goes into this wacky world of King Arthur, meeting characters from the Sonic series that are actually just different characters from the time of King Arthur, and it's really interesting to see the parallels between these characters as well as their Sonic counterparts. The gameplay is overall fantastic, but I feel like a strong aspect of this game in particular is the strong characterization and world building as well as the story overall. And this all correlates at the very last boss fight of the game, where Sonic is confronting Melina and basically saying that, hey, every world will have its end at one point. You're doing what you're doing, basically trying to put a stop to the world ending, is actually harming it more than anything else, when we should just be enjoying our lives, living it to the fullest in the time that we have. And this story and narrative can work in a 2D game, but it was only on a 3D console, and the boss fights can only be done in 3D, and this entire game can only be done on a 3D platform like the Nintendo Wii. It 100% takes full advantage of the fact that of the platform that it's on, as well as the controller that the gamers will be using, and pushes it to its absolute limits. From one Nintendo Wii title to another Nintendo Wii title, please take a look at the Wii version of Sonic Unleashed. The short and sweet of it is that if the HD version was a little bit too lengthy and had way too many problems, the Nintendo Wii version cuts back on a lot of those problems while still feeling like a fast-paced Sonic the Hedgehog game and an amazing type of action-adventure RPG that the Werehog brings to the table. And I personally believe you will never be able to find this type of game that makes you feel alive in a 2D game on the Sega Genesis. Like in Sonic and the Black Knight, its story is what really drives it. It's never too serious to the point where it doesn't feel like you're having a well-rounded adventure, but it has elements in it that make it feel real, unlike any other platformer out there on the market. This game introduces Chip, a little cute little critter that basically loves food and basically reminds me of Happy from Fairy Tail. Throughout the adventure of literally putting the Earth back together and restoring powers to the Chaos Emeralds, Chip has always been your side companion, enjoying the adventure as you go through it. After gaining the second to last Chaos Emerald, it turns out that Chip will have gained his memory and that he is Light Gaia and will stop Dark Gaia whenever it returns and then go back to sleep until the world needs him most. Rewatching this cutscene as an adult and now having the friends that I do have after a while of letting go of some old friends, this scene completely hits differently because sometimes your friends do need to go, responsibility does call, and they have to go and take it up. And so we do have to say goodbye to our best friends. And this scene does not work in the 2D games because of the amazing voice acting and the actors actually giving it its all. Yes, everyone makes fun of 4 kids, but you have to give credit when credit is due when the actors are actually passionate about the characters that they're voicing. On top of being just a solid video game that does take advantage of the fact that it's using newer hardware and newer graphics and newer everything, this game is one that's very special, and if you only think that Sonic peaked in the 2D era, give this game a shot on your Nintendo Wii or PS2. And lastly is a game that I'm not going to spend too much time talking about because it's an experience I want you to experience for yourself. This is Sonic Frontiers, an amazing step forward for the Sonic franchise, not only in terms of gameplay and structure, but story, characters, and world building. All the aspects that make a great video game are here in Sonic Frontiers. And if you guys don't believe me, the Eternal Samurai made 2 amazing videos talking about 2 of the characters in this game in great detail and how it can apply to our everyday to-day life. It's important to respect the past, to look back on why these games mattered, but it's also important to look to the future and the brand new possibilities that are ahead of us. And great news, 2D Sonic is still not going anywhere, but it's taking on a different type of form of 2D that I feel like is a lot more respectable than just the 16-bit aesthetic, and that is an amazing step forward. From what I've heard, Sonic Superstars is an okay game by Sonic standards, but I haven't played it yet, so I can't give my full thoughts and opinions on it, but from what I've seen, this game looks beautiful and an amazing step forward for the Sonic 2D franchise. Classic Sonic is important to many people, it's why we all play Sonic the Hedgehog to begin with, but it's still not the only great Sonic game, and with Sonic Superstars coming out after Sonic Frontiers, I truly believe that a lot more people are starting to realize that, and that I could not be even more happier. These 2 Sonics can live side by side in perfect harmony from 2 completely different dimensions. And look, I get it. Everyone has their favorite video games and their favorite franchises. My personal favorite Kingdom Hearts game is Kingdom Hearts 3, which is often considered to be the black sheep of the series because they live up to all the hype. But I still love that game with all my heart. I promise that wasn't a pun. But with that being said, who am I to judge? It's not like there's gonna be a riot outside my house. I take it all back.